Eric?
Yep.
Call the meeting to order. Okay, of September 22nd, our first agenda item at 7:30 is open forum. Members of the commission have anything for open forum?
Are the mics on? I don't hear anything.
Yeah, the mic's
Okay.
Okay. One thing that we're going to be doing starting tonight for continuations, because we're having a big problem with the continuations of not showing up or continuing, is that we don't have to assign them a time of 7:30, just like we did when we were in Zoom. I'm trying.
We're working on that.
Yeah. So we ran this by town council, and so just like when we were doing the Zoom meetings, the continuations will be given a 7:30 time, and then we'll fit them in as we go, with priority given to the new applications that will have a
Good. I
given
won't hold
time.
this up.
It's better than what's currently,
Yeah,
Yeah,
having to deal
exactly,
with.
so we don't end up with all these gaps in the meeting space, and
it's much better. We
We're
didn't
trying.
accommodate for that
Right,
with
see if
COVID. I
he's
don't know
going.
how. Is there anything else you can do, or is that is it on?
Hey, you got that booming voice.
yeah, I'm a little hoarse tonight, I've had allergies going on. so,
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah. Okay,
Is it on?
you good?
Yeah, it was just
Turned down?
very low.
Okay. Okay, so that will be the new rule going forward?
Be
Okay.
much smoother.
You have anything for open forum?
Yes, just to let everybody know, and since we have an audience, I feel like it's a public service announcement, that special town meeting is to be held on October, sorry. Yeah, the 16th, October 16th. It's currently slated for 10 a.m., but the select board is taking up a request to change the time to 1 p.m. So please come to town meeting. A quorum of 200 people is needed for the meeting to actually start. That's all I got for that public service announcement. So.
Okay. Anything from the audience on open forum? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our first agenda item, which is a discussion of the wood enhancement plan. Gary Goldberg's here from New England Forestry Consultants to help answer questions. Yep. And just before you get started, I just want to let you know that this plan was done as a follow-up to the original plan that was in the original master plan that was supposed to be in there. And so it had been over 10 years, and so we requested a new forestry plan be developed. And this is what, where this came from. And this is actually our second meeting on this. This is an information meeting. We're just gathering comments and information. Doesn't mean we're going to implement the plan. As I said, the last plan, we never implemented anything, okay? So that's where we're going to go. And after the first meeting, I just want to make a comment, because there was a map going around about this clear cut. And we had already discussed that we were taking off anything along Kais Brook, and that involved Lot 8 also. So,
We can't fix the system, maybe the meeting ought to be postponed.
We don't do that.
Yeah, come on, give us a break. We're doing the best we can.
Can you get the mic closer to you? No.
no, we can't do
It's
that.
not appropriate.
We can't do that, okay?
Outside about what you're allowed.
So anyways, this is the second go-around of the plan, and we've done this because that's what the master plan called for. After our first meeting, we had discussed several items on it, and just so you know, there's no clear cut. We had already taken that off the table. Anything on Lot 8 along Kais Brook there is off the table. We already have taken that down, that we're not going to do anything there. Nothing's going to happen along Kais Brook. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Now, Gary's here to answer questions about the plan. And if you've got questions on the plan, you can come up and speak. You know, this is going to end at 8 o'clock. We have an extensive agenda tonight. We have a lot of public hearings. And so this agenda item will end at 8 o'clock. If you're going to come up, try to limit yourself to 2 or 3 minutes of talking, and I think that's it. Gary, you want to say anything up front?
Would you like me to just give a
Yeah, brief overview, summary.
introduction?
Yep.
And anybody who submitted email comments, those were provided to the commission and Gary this afternoon, so please limit it to new information. You know, the commission has seen all the emails that have come in.
Is it best if I just stand up? and
Yeah,
address-
stand up, yep.
Okay. To the audience and commission members?
There's a microphone
There's
there,
a
so, yeah.
Thank you for having me this evening. Okay.
It'll pick you up.
How's that, better?
Yep.
Okay. My name's Gary Goldberg. I'm a consulting forester with New England Forestry Consultants. Our former parent company, the New England Forestry Foundation, is over here in Littleton, Massachusetts, and they're dedicated to the conservation and management, wise use of forest lands. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about forestry. And we were called in to prepare a forest stewardship plan under the Bird Habitat Assessment Program through Mass Audubon. We evaluated the property, took into consideration management that might benefit potentially 17 focal bird species that are declining in Massachusetts. The management that we do in the woods, in timber harvesting, is very beneficial to these particular bird species that are in decline because they have a lack of early successional young forest habitat. Some of them include the ruffed grouse, woodcock, chestnut-sided, all of the bird species that are having trouble. This type of forestry can actually help their habitat by creating stages of growth from mature timber, mid-story timber, and early successional young habitat in the understory. We invited Jeffrey Riddison from Mass Audubon, who works with Department of Conservation and Recreation, and we looked at the habitat. We together developed the plan to that would assist in the creation of habitat for these bird species. So we took Jeffrey out, and I don't know who else was here on the walk, but it was a great walk. He explained the type of habitat or the birds that would benefit from some of the silviculture that we were about to implement or would implement in the forestry plan. So he approved the recommendations that we made, and we submitted the plan and it was approved. The recommendations that are in there are just recommendations. It all focuses on the decision-making comes from the Conservation Commission. The foresters, the bird habitat specialists aren't going to make those decisions. Those are decisions that get made by you. I did read some of the emails, and the one thing that came up that was, it's kind of a buzzword now, it's the carbon sequestration. And the New England Forestry Foundation is working very hard on the science of good forestry. And you're going to have two sides. You're going to have those who say you've got to set everything aside for carbon reserves. And then you're going to have the other side that's going to say good forestry actually promotes carbon reserves. And the more wood we can use and the less steel and high emission producing products that we can get rid of, the better for carbon, increasing carbon reserves. For example, UMass has built a huge wood structure, and this is the new architectural push, is to build more structures with wood buildings than steel, which creates more use of carbon. So you can be on one side or the other, and I really don't want to debate. New England Forestry Foundation has a great pamphlet on it, and I sent it to Matt, and it talks about the changing climate and forest resiliency. How are we going to manage our forests into the future? Because we're going to see decline in certain species are having trouble. We're going to see more weather-related events, insect disease, and how are we going to manage those forests to produce forest products, to maintain good wildlife habitat, to maintain water quality. All of these things are very important. So you're going to have some who say just leave it alone. You're going to have some who say manage it, increase your growth rates, increase your carbon production through good and wise forest management. But I'm not going to debate with you. So if you have any questions about the recommendations that we made, I'd be glad to answer them. But I would encourage you to read the pamphlet that I sent Matt about exemplary forestry and the carbon cycle. It's on page 20. It's probably the most important page in the pamphlet, but it talks about the carbon cycle, and it's just a great document. I've read many of them. Fish and Game has put them out. I've seen the other side, so I understand the concerns, but it's something that research, study, science, and I don't think you're going to ever get the two sides to completely agree. You might have to come in somewhere in the middle, but we certainly promote the use, the management of forest lands for wise forest resiliency into the future. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have. Sir.
You direct it.
They're going to have to come up, why don't you sit down, Gary, and
Okay.
and they're going to have to
Yep.
come up to the microphone, and they got to identify themselves.
Oh, someone just asked me to ask a question, so I'll ask it because I was thinking, is that online?
It is now in the hands of Matt.
Yeah, I will be posting it, revising the meeting packet and including that with the meeting documents that were reviewed tonight by the commission, so.
Okay, first of all, I agree with you, concrete.
We need to know.
Oh, my name's Jay Garrick, 3 Jester Road, Westford. I agree with you. Cement production is the highest CO2 generator in the country. It's more than all the cars and trucks put together. Steel is right behind it. So I get that point. What I'd like to ask, and I've asked a lot of people, no one can tell me, what is the goal here for the town people? Is it to raise money by harvesting? There's a lot of dead wood in there, but I'm sure whoever comes in to do what you say probably doesn't want the dead rotten wood. Fire, we had a big fire Sunday 5 years ago, 6 years ago, over there. I'm old, it may have been a lot longer. It ran, I think, almost 100 acres. But no one kind of said, here's the problem for the townspeople. We want to do this to solve these problems. And without a statement of the problem, I don't have a reference to listen. That's all.
I don't know what you're saying.
Okay. Do I answer that?
Yeah, right there. You got a microphone.
So, good question. As a consultant, I work for my client. My client directs me as to what I'm going to do on the property. So it really comes down to the goals and objectives of the landowner. And in the management plan that we prepared, you'll see a goals statement for the property. It's very general, but that's where you'll find it. And that comes from the Conservation Commission, which gave me my marching orders.
It comes from the master plan.
Sure. If you have read the plan, it's right in there. So, number 1 is enhance bird habitat, 2, improve the timber forest, promote biological diversity, enhance recreation and aesthetics, enhance other native wildlife habitats, create opportunities for public education. And those are our goals. Nowhere in here says anything about making money for timber,
Right.
okay?
Where is that posted on your website?
Do you have that?
This
up?
was included in the meeting packet. I'm not sure if it's posted elsewhere, but I can certainly make it available
I've just
on
asked
the.
people on either side of me, no one's found it.
Yeah, it's on page 5 of
Okay.
of the management plan.
Okay,
Okay. Sue Thomas, 7 Old Homestead.
Can you
I
say
guess-
that again, because I don't understand you.
Sue Thomas,
Thank you.
7 Old Homestead. Happy first day of autumn. It's kind of tropical here, wouldn't you say? The reason I want to speak to you tonight, although I have several concerns about this management plan, has to do with climate change. And there are just a few key points that is science. That one mature tree equals 472 new large landscape trees, not small trees, in terms of carbon sequestration. And when this plan was developed, not even the New England Forestry Foundation was talking about carbon. The field work was being done, but the plan he's speaking about is almost hot off the presses, as I understand it, newly released. So carbon is a new idea that we're just adjusting to in terms of quantifying the benefits and the environmental services that our property can provide us. And just to back up, what does carbon sequestration mean? It's photosynthesis. So the trees store the carbon in the soil to be available to themselves and to other organisms and in their limbs and in their trunks. And they release water vapor and oxygen for us, which influences the climate. And science has found that between 50 and 70 years, trees really start to reach their maximum in terms of doing that. They're really accelerating the way they can sequester carbon. And many of the trees on our properties live for 100 or 200 years.
no, they're not 200 years,
They live that long.
but not on this property,
Okay.
okay? The trees have been there
Well,
since
oak tree lives-
1938. 1938, the entire camp was pretty much leveled by the hurricane.
I'm talking about the future. So if they're 50
Well,
now,
I don't want to get too far off the track, because we really want to talk about the plan. I mean, we can talk about carbon for a long time, and I think everybody understands here the importance of it. He certainly does, and we certainly do.
well, the Clean Energy and Sustainability Commission, which was established because the town voted a resolution to meet net zero by 2050, understands that the next 30 to 50 years are critical. And if we make a mistake and cut those trees down and lose that sequestration capability, the state, the Commonwealth studies, in terms of environmental services, recognize that New England and the Commonwealth will not meet that goal. We cannot cut emissions enough. We have to rely on the forests. And so my question for the forester is, New England Forestry Foundation is an organization that works with land preservation organizations who are required to have revenue. They're largely private landowners who need the money off their property from the timber. That's my understanding of most of your client base. That is not the position that Westford is in with this property, as I understand it. We're not looking to make money. So I would urge you, and the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee has made 2 resolutions, one on August 2nd to support the mission of the Conservation Commission, which, Matt, if you could put that up on the screen, please. I can read it to you. That on August 2nd, we resolved to support the Conservation Commission in any efforts it may take to ensure that any forestry planning in Westford seeks to achieve sustainability and resilience goals. These may include capturing carbon, supporting a healthy watershed, supporting diversity and local pollinators, supporting a complex food web, and controlling invasive species. And then in September, we voted to ask you to reconsider or block this plan in light of the fact that we don't believe that it meets those principles. And the reason I am concerned in asking questions is I do think there's a lot of land use priorities that all of our landowners need to juggle. But the current plan and the goals of New England Forestry Foundation in preserving forests
They're not
are
our
different.
goals. Those are not our goals.
Okay. So, so I guess I would just ask you to respond if in fact most of your clients are landowners who need to make money.
No, they're not. I
Okay.
work for many municipalities, land trusts, private landowners. And when you talk about forest resiliency, that's very important. But when you're dealing with a climate change that has an increased insect disease, they're affecting many species within the forest. And if you have one age class with no diversity, you're asking for trouble at some point in the life of that forest if you have catastrophic events. So our policy is for good forestry, forest resiliency, is to manage the forest for the trees that are best suited for the site and under the conditions that we're going to face. And so if you have a diversity of size and age and species, we're prepared better than we would be if they're all a monoculture or one age class. So that is the New England Forestry Foundation's efforts in educating landowners, and it's not revenue driven.
Well, that would, all of New England is roughly the same age. We clear cut the region at the same time. And the state is saying that that is our sort of competitive advantage in climate change. So you're right, we disagree.
Yes, we definitely disagree. Yep,
So, thank you.
respectfully so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Ready?
Yep.
Hey, Marion.
Hi, I'm Marion Harmon, Old Colony Drive. I'd like to ask the forester about the clear cuts because Peter said that lot number 8 would have, and I know that they're not called clear cuts in the plan, they're called patch cuts, but they're very large patch cuts, 5 and 6 plus acres adjacent to each other. 8 and 9, lots 8 and 9. Are you saying that the plan has changed?
No, the plan hasn't changed. We just had a discussion after our first meeting, which you were there, and we did have a concern with any work done along Keyes Brook. And with Lot 8 being along there, we decided that, that wasn't an appropriate place to do.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Not all of Lot 8, though, is along Keyes Brook. It's a shape that,
It is funny, but we said we'd take Lot 8 off it. Okay,
Great,
that we would.
great.
And you have to realize that none of this is going to happen right away, if it happens at all. This is a plan put forward, just like the original plan. If for some reason down the line, we can afford to do part of the plan, we might do it, okay? But there's still a long process ahead before we would do it.
so is there going to be an amendment to the plan that takes Lot 8 off? Because it's in the plan now.
The plan is there, okay?
Yeah.
Also, the commission decided that it's not going to do anything with Lot 8. Okay, but it's in the plan.
The forestry plan is a guide, and it's based on our negotiation, talking with the commission, making suggestions on how to manage the property. And it's not cut in stone. It can be modified, but if the landowner chose to implement one of those, it's in the plan, it's ready to go, it's been addressed. If not, then it gets passed by.
Guess I would hope that you would amend the plan and take that, if you really do not intend to do that patch cut there.
Well, the plan has been approved by the state. It's gone for the state, had to go through the plan for that approval, and it's just back with us. And it's really up to the commission and who's on it, what they want to implement. Now, I mean, we can put in the notes of the plan that, we have noted, there will be no work done on Lot 8.
It would be in the minutes, too.
Yeah,
It would be in our minutes, Marion.
okay?
Good,
Okay.
good.
Yep.
Now, Lot 9 also has a large, very large patch cut. Is that still planned?
It's still within the red area here, so, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm particularly concerned about these clear cuts. I call them clear cuts because I think that's what they are. That every tree is taken down in those areas, and it purports to attract other species of birds. I have been living in Westford a long time, 46 years, and I have been birding here, and at East Boston camps all those years, and I have a very comprehensive list of 93 species of birds that I have seen there personally. And your list of the ones you want to attract are all on my list, except for ruffed grouse and woodcock. And those two are, of course, quite dependent on field environment or scrubby environment. And there is, to my mind, it makes no sense to cut down 6 or whatever it's going to be clear cut for 2 species of birds, which occur in Westford already. I know lots of fields in Westford that have woodcock. It doesn't, this one piece of land doesn't have to do all the habitat work. We have town-owned fields that are already doing that field habitat work. So I think that the idea of clear cutting and then invasive species coming in on the clear cuts and having no plan in the plan for how to manage invasive species, that clear cut will be loaded. It'll be bittersweet, and it'll be Japanese knotweed, and it'll be everything but what you want, everything but what we want, which would be little oak seedlings or something like that. But it'll really be a mess. And then the birds won't be there either because, it'll be growing up. So if any clear cuts are done, it would have to be managed. It would have to be mowed yearly to keep that. Last time I asked this question, Conscom had absolutely no answer for what you plan to do to keep the invasives out of that area if this happens. So those are my questions.
Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Come on up.
Hi, Edith Joachim Blythe, 3 Fieldstone Drive. I think first and foremost, it goes without saying that I would like to concur with the 2 previous speakers with all of their sentiments and research and knowledge. I had sent a note earlier today, which was passed along by Matt Salem, but I think it's worth noting that both the Woodland Enhancement Plan and the East Boston Camps Master Plan, in some senses, are out of date with current knowledge about climate, right? I think that's pretty easy to come to agreement upon. And one of the disappointing things is, therefore, the goals do not contain any measure of understanding about storage or sequestration of carbon or climate impacts on the woodlands, without just brief mentions about the idea of woodland resilience. So in subsequent publications or post these 2 plans by DCR Massachusetts and Mass Woods, which is done by UMass Amherst and others, it's pretty clear that in the setting goals measure, which is the first thing that you do in establishing any of these plans, that it can, and in our case probably should, have already included the following. Do you value your woods as a way to store or sequester carbon? Are you concerned about climate change impacts on your woods? And then delineated from that for the forester comes, how can our woods then respond to climate change during the next several decades? What is the prediction there? Are there conditions that make the land vulnerable to specific impacts? Are there tree species that should be planted or favored to help these woods cope with climate? Are there opportunities to pursue carbon credits or other funding for carbon benefits related management? It continues on. I did take the time and opportunity, so pardon me if I missed anything, but I did read the 268 pages that were contained in the meeting packet towards this discussion. And I guess I'm just trying to understand, if the current plans don't contain any of these measures, how can we therefore act on those basis to then, physically make these major alterations? I'm kind of amiss there.
DCR is now reformatting the forest stewardship plans to include the issues that you're talking about. They have not. When we do the plan, it's based on what their template is, and that's all we can provide. They are, and you can call the state forester and ask her about the new templates that are coming out. And if you wanted to modify the plan to address that, you can. But they have not come up with a format for the plan as of yet.
Well, seemingly with the IPCC 2021, it would be fairly clear that you have to use any new template or information going forward, especially with regards to forestry, right? That's a whole chapter of their work, is to modify your forestry.
That's something that you'd have to address with the state.
Thank you.
Can I ask, before she sits down, can you send that list to us that you have in your hand?
Thank you.
Thank you. Send it to Matt, please.
Marsha Stokes. I think these questions are more directed this way. I had two. When we first purchased the property, we had a woman come from Jericho, Vermont, Susan Morse, and she walked us through the property, and she talked about wildlife corridors and areas that were more vital to the property. And I just wondered, have we had someone come and look at the property in regards to this plan and see how it would impact it, or the species that are currently living there, how it would impact those species to take out some of the trees? I wondered if there was any balance there going on.
Well, we had Audubon come in.
Sorry?
Audubon was here.
Right, so Audubon is more focused on the birds?
Correct, right.
Right, so I wonder, did Audubon also look at all of Westford and say, for example, Bluebird Hill at Stone Arch is an area that's already a meadow? Are there other areas in town that are easier to habituate the woodcock or some of these birds that we're trying to? Is it really necessary to use this piece of property and take down the trees when you have something going there? Are there other properties that would make more sense? Because we are very fortunate to have multiple properties. And did Audubon look at all of the town, or did they specifically look at East Boston camps?
He specifically looked at East Boston camps.
Okay, so he did not look at any of the other properties. And we haven't had anyone come in to look at the property to say what it would do to the species that are currently there if we change it, that are not birds.
No.
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 Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Bob Sobek, Westford resident, 51 years, retired school teacher, biology, botany degree. I do have science issues. When you cut down a forest, a part of a forest, you do a very complicated thing, because there are thousands of species, animal and plant, in that woodland. And you cannot predict with accuracy which ones will be advantaged and which ones will be disadvantaged. The interrelationships are so complicated that if you had 100 PhDs in ecology, they wouldn't be able to figure it all out in a lifetime. I do worry about invasive species. You mentioned bittersweet. It's invaded my backyard. It's wiped out crabapple trees that are growing in various parts of town that I use for crabapple jelly. They're covered and they're dying. I worry about bittersweet. But you know what? We have a native plant I worry about just as much. You don't see it in the deep woodlands between Stony Brook and Bridges Pond, where the shade is deep. It's a plant that doesn't like deep shade. And kids can go up there and they can build forts out of branches that they find on the ground and have all kinds of fun without worrying about poison ivy. Poison ivy will invade your clear-cut land, and it will be more numerous in your partially cleared land, and it will climb the trees, and to either manage it, which costs money, leave it alone, and hope that too many people don't itch. I have an overriding concern, though. It's at least as big as that. It's bigger than all that. It's an obvious thing. Why do people go to Burgess Pond? It's pretty. It's the aesthetics. Woodlands are pretty. It's the art. If you're a photographer, you're an artist, you could go in there and have a hell of a time. If you cut down a lot of trees for a good long time, you'll have less fun doing that.
It's true.
And less people will want to go there. And why would you ever want that to happen when that's why we set the land aside? Sunsets over cut down trees? Really? That's a real big concern of mine. It takes time for forest succession, the replacement of trees after trees are cut down to come in. You know, gray birch and various things that will populate an area after. It takes a long time for that to happen, longer than I'm going to be around to reestablish the woodland that I love in the hills between the brooks and the pond. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi, Brad Myers, 110 Groton Road. I would like to say I agree with all the previous commenters, so I'm not going to ask questions about that. I did have a question, a clarification question. You had said before the hearing that the areas along Keyes Brook are off the table, and I thought I heard only reference to Area 8. But does that include all the areas along Keyes Brook? Are those off the table for any kind of cutting or clearing?
I don't think there was anything else basically along Keyes Brook. There was one small patch on the front of the.
There's areas 1 and 3. Well, 3 is not adjacent
Yeah,
to Keyes
3's
Brook,
not
and
on
2
there.
also.
1 and 7.
Oh, and 7 also, yeah. So those are also off the table for.
Right.
Okay.
Anything along Keyes Brook is on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Emily Teller, 9 Texas Road. I just want to make 2 points about other committees and other work in town that will impact and coordinate with yours, I hope. In Jody's September newsletter, there was an article about the Westford Clean Energy and Sustainability update, and it included the Mass Department of Energy and Environmental Affairs awarded Westford a Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program Action Grant of $79,200 to complete a Westford tree and invasive species inventory and management plan with a tree planting plan over the next 2 years. Thanks also to the other town departments who will be supporting this project. The Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee is excited about this initiative to protect and enhance Westford's ability to sequester carbon and decrease the impacts of climate change on the town. There's also a survey in Jody's newsletter that I hope everybody will download and go to and fill out about how you feel about climate change here in town. The other thing is the planning board on Monday night established a task force. Just ignore that. I'll pick it up in a minute. They established an electric vehicle stations working group. And I'm here to ask that perhaps the Conservation Commission might want to establish some kind of working group to deal with this larger issue, not necessarily this plan, but how people feel about different areas in town and the plans going forward with that. So I brought copies for all of you of their mission statement. And I'll just read it really quickly if that's okay. The Electric Vehicle Stations Working Group will collectively engage Westford stakeholders to explore the needs and feasibility to provide the necessary network of stations to support the demand for vehicle charging throughout town. Based on the underlying demand for vehicle charging, the group will ultimately be responsible for advising the planning board regarding the development of an action plan with clear obtainable objectives including but not limited to any necessary regulatory changes, implementation processes, and funding as necessary. But the important part is they're potentially pulling people in from different parts of town. A representative from the planning board, a representative of clean energy and sustainability, a representative of Healthy Westford, 2 to 3 members of the general public, the assistant planner as an advisory or member, and the assistant town manager, advisory only. So maybe the Conservation Commission could have a similar citizens group working to oversee or make recommendations about areas of town that are important to people here in town, rather than having an agenda item come up that calls people forward to comment on that. It might be helpful to have a group that's overseeing different areas in town that come under your jurisdictions to make recommendations. Just an idea. Now pick up my stuff.
Elizabeth Hinkleman, 110 Groton Road, Westford. I've been a resident of Westford for 21 years. I made a big push and got through the forestry plan after a few different attempts, and I then went back and walked the property, and I was really impressed at how much I had learned about the different areas of the property and their ecological state and so forth. One thing that I wanted to point out is that the whole place is sand. The whole place, East Boston Camps, is based on sand, and therefore it's very susceptible to erosion. I had a question for the Conservation Commission about how you deal with the existing issues that are already on the property, one of which was invasive species that other people have already talked about, but another one is several of those trails are really suffering from erosion. New trails are arising every week.
Yeah, and that's a problem, so, a huge problem.
All right, so trying to get heavy machinery in there, I think, is not gonna solve that problem. So I think you answered, you didn't, it sounds like you do see the problems, but haven't figured out how to solve them yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 issues there. One is on some of the current trails, there's some severe erosion going on, especially the ones over by the girls' camp. There's a steep slope that goes down that hill. We've been trying to get someone, to help with that.
Like volunteers or like
Yeah,
paid?
like volunteers. I mean, the problem here is we have a limited land management budget. Our land management budget is $30,000 a year.
Shy of 45.
45, but part of that goes to the caretaker.
So I had heard that, when I talk to other fellow conservationists, there are, trusts that are very good at acquiring property that are struggling to create the concomitant resources necessary to maintain those properties. And it sounds like we need to get together and figure out some solutions for that for East Boston Camps. We can't only be building buildings, we have to be protecting our eskers and our areas like that. My question for the forester is a follow-up to some of the earlier discussion. We know that there has been all this movement at the federal, state, and Westford level toward the net zero goals for carbon. It sounds like you won't be in a position to do a carbon analysis of this property until the state gets their, till DCR gets their templates together.
For the management plan.
For the management plan. So I would like to ask, first of all, that we make sure that we do that carbon analysis before doing any implementation of the management plan, firstly. Secondly, a couple of us were lucky enough to be able to talk with Brian Hawthorne of the Habitat Program at the state, and he told us also that the templates weren't ready. But he also said he had done for several state properties the kind of analysis that we need to see what the impact on carbon sequestration would be for the kind of work that's proposed to manage for wildlife. So my request is that we make sure we get that analysis done before we take any action, and I'm interested to know what time frame we can do that in.
And it's a good point. The New England Forestry Foundation is leading that charge. They are developing the template with the state. So that's important for you to know.
That's interesting.
Yes.
That's very
So they're
interesting.
taking an active role in creating that template. I don't know when they'll have it.
Okay.
I would,
So we don't know our timeline. Speaking of timelines, I'll just throw in one more little thing. I know we all got to go. Forest experts have communicated to me that although we may have these goals of sustainable forestry, we won't know for a few hundred years whether we were right about the sustainability. So just want people to keep that in mind too. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Elizabeth? This is going to be it, because we've got at least 2 hours more here to go. So this is it.
Good evening. My name's Elizabeth Almeida. I live at,
More opportunities, believe me. This isn't going anywhere for a long time.
sure. I live at 41 West Street. And Matt, are you able to pull up the Google Slides I sent you? So I plan to be brief. I did put together a bunch of slides that, Matt, if you just want to scroll through them while I'm speaking, I'll just take a minute or two.
Don't have that in this version of it.
Okay. So I've been hiking east, well, I can't read it. They were all
I said
pictures.
we did get to read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've been hiking East Boston camps a couple times a week. I'm leading mushroom hikes. I'm a mushroom farmer. We hike on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. If anybody wants to join us, we have our last hike this coming Sunday. And I just wanted to speak for a minute from the perspective of the mushrooms and the fungi in the forest. I feel like we're talking about the birds and the trees, and we also need to think about the mushrooms. In the past 10 days, I've photographed at least 50 different species of mushrooms in the woods. And the diversity we have at East Boston camps is amazing. And that's something that I'd like to have in your perspective when we're talking about what to do. Mushrooms feed on trees. Some feed on living trees, some feed on dying trees. And so when I read the plan, I think about how much of the carbon, how much of the wood can we keep in the woods to continue feeding the fungus. Then the mushrooms, the fungus will decompose the trees, and that will go back into the soil to support new plant life. So if we're hoping to grow new trees or new species, however much of that nutrition we can keep in the woods, I would support doing that. And then the other part of that is I think of these woods as sustaining us. We talk about going there for the beauty, for the hiking, for the recreation. There are also people who go there and forage for food. Right now, the chicken of the woods, the giant orange mushrooms are popping out, the hen of the woods. You can go there right now and pick 10 pounds of chicken of the woods mushrooms. And we do have residents here in town who do take advantage of that and go to the woods and collect food. So I think that's part of food sovereignty and individuals' independence, that if we as a community can provide that resource, then I think we should do that. Let me just see. And I'm happy to share my pictures with anyone else who would like to see those. And I also wanted to point out the diversity of moss that we have at East Boston camps. I'm only beginning to learn about moss and the different species of moss. I think it's something to take into consideration to make sure that we're preserving the diversity of species we have there. The research on mushrooms is just beginning in terms of what the wild species are capable of giving us in terms of medicine. We know some about the food, what they do for the environment. And so I think part of our responsibility here is to preserve all those species so that generations that come after us have the opportunity to learn about those species and find how they may benefit the environment. And then my other thought is that there's a lot of passion and energy here. We're talking about one property that we own here in town. We have a lot of other land here in town. And as some of the folks have mentioned about the birds, are there other properties where we can achieve our goals? Are there other properties in town that we could be managing better if we want to prioritize sequestering carbon? And I think that's for all of us to discuss. And I don't think that's all on you, the Conservation Commission. I think that's for us as a community. Some of us can get together, we can volunteer, we can work on this, in relationship here and cooperation with the Conservation Commission. So that would be my challenge to all of us, and I'm willing to be part of that. Feel free to reach out to me, and I would be happy to volunteer on that as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I'm Justin Michael. I'm 4 Francis Hill Road. We've heard a lot of people speak so far about different sciences and different species that are living there. And I just want to speak quickly on behalf of the character of Westford, because I grew up here and I've always known it as a place of people that love their forests. especially East Boston camps in the surrounding area. It's a place that I've been going hiking since I was a little kid. We used it in middle school for the cross country, as well as even Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. We used it all the time, especially this area too. For hiking, there used to be a rope swing. And I don't want to see the character of this area change pretty much at all. It was very important to myself growing up, as well as a lot of the people I knew. And I want to make sure that the people who grow up here after me get to have the same experiences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Bill Bowen on Cummings Road. I wanted to cite a couple things that was in the plan here, specifically talking about some of the stands up there. Stand number 2 is cited as a wetland resource area with swamps. You're planning to cut trees down in there. Stand number 4.
No, we're not.
Nope.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the plan that's here.
It also says draft on it.
It
This
does.
is the only spot in here that's even being considered right
Yeah,
now,
there's no work in the wetlands.
within the red.
So there are no vernal pools in any of the areas to be planned to be cut at all?
No.
And the only stand that we're talking about is stand 6, stand 7?
Within this red line.
There's a pool
5
between
and 10.
if it stands 5 and 9, but we're not.
Vernal pools in stand 5 and 9. So I did some quick math while I was here. I also happened to work at the academy, teach physics and engineering. So a vernal pool that is 50-foot radius, 100 feet across.
Hey guys, let him speak.
A vernal pool with a 50-foot radius, 100 feet across, has, do any of you know what the buffer zone is for vernal pools?
It'd be 100 feet.
So that 100-foot buffer with a 100-foot diameter vernal pool is 8 times the area of that vernal pool. All that runoff going into vernal pools, all that extra runoff is going to change that habitat for sure, no doubt. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for everybody for coming. Like I said, this is not, there's no plan to implement the plan at this time. Obviously, we may look at modifying it again, so, and once again, there'll be another public hearing if anything's decided.
Peter, I'd like to make a quick point. You've got 35 people outside. You need to have a bigger room when this topic comes up to accommodate the interest.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Yep,
guys.
thank you.
The efforts, comments.
Probably the biggest crowd in the
How many,
Yeah, I think, Dave, you should raise some money out there.
And it just, I read this and it says,
yeah.
there's overstocked overstory, there's poor crowd, and what are
We do
those,
have
you know?
other agenda items if everybody could.
Last couple of days, so
But also
never mind the bigger room that you have to plan with.
Some of this is,
Public hearings.
you look at some of this stuff and it's kind of like, some of these trees, how much carbon can they really, you know, they're not in good health.
There's a lot to talk about, you know?
Yeah.
And we're not doing anything for quite a while.
Also, I think they really need
But I think to look at everything and to be receptive, you know, and to maybe get more people involved.
neighbor.
Okay, we're going to move on to our
Somebody-
7:55, which is a continuation of a public hearing for the Town of Westford, 33 Robbins Road. They've asked for a continuance to our October 27th. I have a motion to continue this at 7:30 on October 27th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're moving on to our 8 PM public hearing. And
When we close that door
Shut
over
the
there.
door,
Nicole?
Close it.
please.
Yes, what's the?
Let's not forget please and thank you. Excuse me?
Providence Road.
No, this is,
Robinson
yeah,
Road.
Robinson Road, the school, the
Robinson.
school
right.
project.
The tennis
A
court.
hearing that's not taking place.
Thank you for closing the door, by the way.
Thank you for waiting, I know we're late.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to tell us who you
Public
are?
hearing.
Oh, yeah, oh, you haven't read it yet. I'm sorry, I thought you read it. Go ahead, read it.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, at 8 p.m. in meeting room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the notice of intent application of Veronica Chang for the construction of a footbridge on the Acker Dean De Silva Trail within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland and within 200 feet of Stony Brook at Assessor's Map 066 parcel, do I have to read all that? 010 lot 0003 and Assessor's Map 064 parcel 0015 lot 0000.
Okay, tell us who you are and about your project.
Okay, I'm Veronica Chang, and for my Gold Award project, I'm trying to build a footbridge on the Akron De Silva Trail. So that's going to be, it's on the trail that's been recently flooded, or not recently, but has been flooded. And the trail is basically impassable if you want to walk it. So I'm planning on making a footbridge. It's fairly close to another footbridge that was made by a scout a few years ago, but I feel like the area could use another one because it's very muddy and wet there.
Okay, so you gave us a diagram.
Yep.
Did you run this by the building commissioner?
Yes, so I'm contacting the building department right now. I am discussing the final design for the bridge, but the design overall looks okay for now, I think.
Okay, Jim?
Ms. Chang, the bridge, I wasn't able to identify exactly where it's going to go on the property boundaries because there's 3 different parcels right in that area. There's a 15-acre parcel that's owned by the Westford Conservation Trust. That's a private organization. That's their private property. There's a very small 0.4-acre parcel that's under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission, owned by the town of Westford. And then continuing on along the railroad tracks, there's another Westford Conservation Trust property of like 2.9 acres. And I couldn't tell exactly whose property your bridge is proposed for.
So it's on the border. I'm not totally positive if they're, I'm pretty sure it's not totally in one area, so it'll be.
I think it's on the boundary between the Conservation Commission's property and that Eastern Conservation Trust property. And you have reached out to Dave Ebbets. I don't know if the signature pages made it in, but we do have them. They were submitted with the plan where the Westford Conservation Trust also.
I saw that as like a fellow owner or partial owner or something.
Additional owner, because again, where the property is.
All right. So instead, we'll forego any kind of survey and just say it's on both of them, and so you'll get the okay from the Westford Conservation Trust as well as us.
Yes, and we have received that signature, and
perfect.
The
Thank you.
Conservation Trust is aware.
Okay. Thank you. That was the only question I had.
Okay, any other questions from the commission?
Done any fundraising yet for this?
No, I'm planning on doing fundraising after I finalize the design of the bridge, so I know the approximate amount that I'm going to be using.
If you run into trouble, you can come back and visit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So we'll continue this in 2 weeks and issue the order.
Sure.
So can I have a motion to continue this to 7:30 on?
Can't hear you, 7:31?
He hasn't told us yet.
I haven't told you
Sorry,
yet.
sorry.
October 13th.
I'm hearing the voices in the
On the
street.
13th, 7:30 on the 13th of October.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Be there for that meeting, or the 16th.
That's what you said last time.
Or the 16th, 2 in a row.
I know I'll be in Florida, so I won't be here.
Okay, we're going to move on to our 805.
I'm meeting Rockland.
Yeah,
Okay.
special.
Yep.
805 agenda item is the public hearing on Johansson, 9-Story Street.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, at 8:05 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the request for determination of applicability application of Beverly and Chris Johansson for removal of 6 trees posted within 100 feet of an intermittent stream at 9-Story Street.
Okay, welcome. For the record, tell us who
Hi.
you are.
My name's Beverly
Johansson. I live at 9 Story Street, Westford. My husband was here with the crowd, but he's in the car.
Okay.
And we're seeking permission from the commission for safety purposes, mostly, to remove, cut down and remove several trees on our property that we have had 3 different tree companies out to our property for estimates, and I numbered them on my plot plan. Tree number 1 is a large maple tree. It is within a short distance of the public way. National Grid had trimmed back the lower limbs, but we have higher limbs above their wires that they don't touch. And it was determined that tree number 1 in the front of the house, the top left-hand corner there, has what they call shoestring disease. It's a root disease of the tree. And 2 out of the 3 companies said that they would be concerned that that would fall on our house at some point. So we were asking to cut and remove that because of the disease in the roots. And intertwined with that are the branches of tree number 2, which is a forked pine or spruce tree. I've been told both, so I'm not sure if it's a spruce or a pine. And we wanted to cut that down, remove it too. And I have the distances of each tree from the resource area. Our property is totally within the 100 feet, and it's a intermittent stream that is considered the resource area. And
So move on to tree number 3. You know,
tree
just
number
walk
3
through.
is a pine,
Yep.
pine or spruce, and it leans. And those are top-rooted trees, the pine or spruce trees. The roots are above ground. And since we have been here in 1982, the tree has been leaning more, and the neighbor next door is concerned about the safety, as are we. Tree number 4 is our old dog Mackey's tree. That is rotted inside. The gentleman from Marquee Tree, Peter Collins, was able to put his hand up inside the base of the tree. And that is within feet of our house also. And trees, that was tree number 4, sorry. And tree number 5 and 6, they are in a prescriptive easement area that was deeded to me. Those 2 trees are dead. But we only want to cut the branches of those to a safe height and leave the trees for the woodpeckers and the little bunnies or whatever. You know, I picked a good day to come to the meeting, I guess, because of I have what they call a forest beside me, which is a swatch of land behind Spinners, if you know Spinners parking lot.
Yep.
I'm the first house behind there, so the few trees that are in between are designated as a forest area.
So-
And we do have bunnies and wood and
When you
stuff.
cut down these trees, what trees do you have left?
All the ones in the back of the brook on
I'm looking, you know, is there a
Right.
lot more trees within this?
well, because years ago when the helicopter things came down from the trees, we let them plant and take root. So there's probably a half a dozen that have grown, not real big, but they have taken on the back of my property. So we also have the trees that are other neighbors' trees that are in the brook and on the other bank of the brook. And
Usually on somebody's property, if they're taking down some trees, take a tree down, we'd have them plant a tree.
Within 50 feet of the wetland.
In the back.
Right, within 50.
So
feet.
maybe back here, one or two, or.
Yeah, a couple.
And the ones in the front here, I'm good,
Yeah. So is it all right if we require you to plant a couple of new trees in the back?
sure, how big do they have to be?
Oh, not very big, so.
Yes,
Red
standard.
ma- It's probably wet, it's wet back there, so something like a red
Yeah.
maple.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's standard from a nursery.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, Mac.
Ones in front here, I'd say no problem. Just
Yeah.
when you get back towards the resource area, when you're taking them, we usually say if you're taking one down, we have you plant a new one so
Okay.
it can grow.
Yep.
But other than that, I'm fine with this.
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Any questions from the audience on this application? Okay, seeing none, can I have a conditional negative?
Second.
All in favor?
It's good.
You're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, our 8:10 PM is a continuation of a public hearing for Greystone Pond. That is going to be continued to November 10th at 7:30. Can I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, our 8:20 is another continuation of a public hearing.
This is the 820 is was requesting a withdrawal.
Oh, it's withdrawal.
Yeah, the withdrawal, yeah.
Okay,
That's Deanie's house, right?
It is.
That's Deanie's.
so we don't have to
There
do
was a
anything
fatal
with it.
flaw in the plan, I think.
Excuse me?
A fatal
Did
flaw in the
did we
plan.
open this?
Yeah, we did. We did open it, so.
Because we got to issue a determination then.
Then we have to issue a positive determination,
Right.
don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, so can I have a motion for a positive RDA on this?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, continuation public hearing for Franklin, 31 Bridge Street. Hi, Chris.
Chris.
So you're going to tell us the good news about that old chassis?
Gone. The metal recycling place. Kind of a pain in the butt, but,
Should have raised a flag.
you know, part of it was dragging on the ground on the way over, but whatever, we got it there.
Yeah, that's out of there,
Oh, that's
finally.
good to hear.
Okay,
Had a couple more pallets of stuff taken out of the wetlands area.
okay,
So we're just plugging away at it. Got, in the next month, I still have to put a manhole cover in on the clean out in the middle of the parking lot. So that's probably the next thing that's gonna get done. So,
and what about the filing with the state? What about the filing with the state? You
I
got to
couldn't
get this
find my
done.
plan. I had my plan, my son had my plan, I'm just gonna get another copy of it. I had to go through my office and I had just been so, I hate to say it, busy with work, that I didn't find it.
You do have it.
I know.
Okay.
I gotta do that because I gotta be able to plow snow in there. And
Yeah.
I need to get the plan,
Okay.
set up and approved before the snow starts to fly, which will be
Yeah.
soon.
Not yet.
So when you come back in a month to see us,
Yes.
please have that filed.
Okay, I'll have
Okay.
that filed.
That's good?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission?
None.
I have a
Moving
motion.
on. Hate to bring you out here.
I thought it'd be, I looked at how many canceled, I said, oh, I'll come early, thinking I'd be, I got here, and I'm like, holy
27?
crap. Sorry.
It's okay.
Holy moly. When are we back?
October 27th.
27th.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks. What time?
Do it to then? At 7:30? Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Second.
Appreciate it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chris.
See you next month.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to our 8:40, these are almost caught up, which is a continuation of a public hearing for George Allen and Son of Construction, 22 Griffin Road. They have requested a continuance to our October 13th meeting. Can I have a motion to do that October 13th at 7:30?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
We're all,
we're all caught up. Wow, we're
now we
caught up.
start to go on those
That counts for
discussion
both of
items.
the
Yeah, hang on, we got a lot of stuff here.
parcels on 22 Griffin Road?
What about the other one?
Yeah.
It's 8:50,
Okay, good.
not 8:50.
Thought we just did both of them together.
Well, you can. You want to do it? Do it.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to continue that to October 13th?
Oh,
Jim
thought
made
we were-
it, Marilyn seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, now we can go on to some of our discussion items. Okay, request to archery hunt on map 45, parcel 99.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, he does this every year. You
Yep,
guys
this
all
looks
set with
good.
it?
The plan looked good.
Yep.
Yeah, he's mapped out he's mapped out the distance from the trail, the distances to the houses in the area. So he's once again requesting permission to hunt on that property kind of north of the Flushing Pond wetland.
I move we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One deny, yeah.
Is anybody here on the pine tree?
No.
No,
they
they're
just
not, so we
submitted.
don't have to worry about that? Is there anybody else here in any of these that would be here?
What are you saying, Peter? Couldn't hear.
I was just seeing if anybody was here for any of these other discussion items, I could move them up. No? Okay.
I'm here for the Sycamore and Cypress Road one.
Yeah, well, you brought it up.
Okay, review proposed conservation restriction amendment, Summer Village.
From the developer's attorney, this dates back to the fall of 2019, when, probably before that, where the incursions into the conservation restriction out at Summer Village were observed, and they were proposed, and the commission agreed to a land swap. The developer's attorney wanted to have the commission, offer the commission a chance to review the proposed amended conservation restriction before sending it to the state to, for their review and before sending it back for local signatures. So did the commission have any?
And Eric, Margaret, and I had, probably 2 years ago now, had walked through those areas and reviewed the two parts that they're planning to add to our restriction. And they look good. They weren't just marshland or anything. It was useful property.
Contiguous.
It was a fair swap.
Beneficial, yes.
Good sized pieces, and it was also good that, because there were a couple of places where it was kind of iffy, where what they built got kind of close or whatever, so there was some adjustment of lines so that the CR better reflected what was actually in the field as well. There those little adjustment pieces as well as the larger pieces that we got. And I think, I didn't read all those little distances, but yeah, the maps look good.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll let the attorney know and expect to see that sometime in the near future, hopefully.
Okay, review potential citizens petition to regulate motorboats on Kai's Pond.
So
Nobody's here.
This has, the commission's comments at the last meeting were regarding other potential property owners around Kai's Pond and whether they, the select board has decided to sponsor this potential bylaw addition now, and as such, they've notified the abutters around Kai's Pond of the public hearing at the select board's next meeting on next Tuesday, hoping for input from the
Opponents to it.
yeah, the
Okay.
directly affected properties.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, is
Yeah.
people that, I understand what the purpose of the petition was for, but what's the impact gonna be to the people that are already there?
Yeah, so.
We don't know that.
If it's the commission's pleasure, there, you could certainly take a position and caveat it with, from our viewpoint.
This is the third time it's been on our agenda, and each time I'd always wanted to speak with anybody that's in opposition to it, but we haven't had either proponents or opposition.
Right.
So I'm,
Are they looking to get this on the special town meeting
Yes, this
warrant?
is the last article on the special town meeting for October, so they would like the commission to take a position if it's your pleasure.
no, I'm not gonna personally.
Well, cool, do you want to do that at
We'll
special
just do it
town
at
meeting?
town
Usually
meeting.
do that,
Do it
write that in there
all
when
the
you're
other
going through
ones.
the
Final
items.
wording,
that.
yeah, okay, so we'll put it off to then. Okay. Request to remove pine tree.
So this is in the Edwards Woods, let me just pull it up
Yeah, the leaning pine tree.
Yeah, the leaning pine tree. So the property owner of 2 Torrington submitted a letter requesting permission to remove this pine tree, and I think it's Fred Prescott. Prescott Tree Services also kind of submitted another written document expressing, detailing that it would be done with crane, since I did stop out, kind of try and locate the pine tree, and then also the angle. It was kind of, when I was getting out there, it's certainly
Quite leaning.
at an interesting angle for pine trees. So they were requesting permission for from the commission
So it
to.
looks like there's a lot of trees there, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is it is Edwards Woods
Okay.
behind.
I'm good with
You
it.
guys good with this?
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve the removal of the tree?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, conservation land, tree removal replacement Sycamore and Cypress Road. We know Jim wants to know about this.
I have spoken with the highway superintendent, director of public works. He's going to look into starting the first and most easily achievable part of it would be to get some boulders out onto the property so that there isn't any incursions, any utilization of it. But he is also aware of the desire to get some trees planted out there,
bushes.
or
Bushes,
yeah, shrubs.
yeah.
To get some vegetation and establish some vegetation out there so that it doesn't, it's not a abandoned property, for lack of a better
Okay, good.
term of it. So I'm still working on that, still in the process.
Okay, request endorsement of 5 conservation restrictions. So these are the 5 that are going to the trust?
Yes, and you previously voted back May,
To approve
April
it.
time to endorse them.
Okay.
In the interim, there was a new attorney working at the Division of Conservation Services, I think that's their name, who was reading through the actual town meeting votes and realized that the language didn't explicitly allow the Conservation Commission to grant a conservation restriction. It was more through the select board. And I think the language has changed. I'm working with him to make sure that going forward, we're not, the Conservation Commission is the
Is the board making that?
is the grantor for these types of things. And
This has to go through the select board?
yes, this still has to go before them. I haven't gotten, and
You have to put it on an
the
agenda.
Westford Conservation Trust, spoken with Dave. He's on board with coming up and signing them. So
So do we just have to sign these, or do we have to vote on them again?
I think you actually do have to vote, because undersigned being certified at a public meeting duly held.
Okay.
Vote, Conservation Commission voted to approve in the public interest and grant foregoing conservation restrictions. So yes,
That's all I want.
get a
Good.
vote for 5.
Yep. Can I have a motion to approve conservation restrictions CR 74, 76, 77, 78, and 79?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All
Yeah,
right,
we
let's go.
Pass them around. Only one page. so
One page.
Sign on the top, please.
One page each?
No,
Yes,
one-
yeah, so there's five signature pages. And just for fun fact for those at home, CR 75 didn't actually, they're not endorsing CR 75 because it wasn't actually, the Conservation Commission wasn't explicitly called out in the town meeting vote.
Seriously?
Yeah. So that just has to be approved by the select board and.
And what parcel is 75? Just interested which one it was.
Yeah,
All these that we've purchased.
What's their Stepinski?
See?
I'll make sure I have that for the next meeting.
The only one I don't remember on this is the Keneally Conservation. Oh, I see it is. That's the old Schwab land. Okay.
There's no access, it's
Yeah,
just
that's the Schwab property. You guys, was he, the Schwab parcel up by Burns Hill? Do you remember that? When we used to talk about that? That was a long time ago.
Which one?
The Schwab property, he owned that
Boy,
piece. You
yeah.
remember him? He wanted like $1 million for it.
Yep.
It was landlocked.
Do we pay $1 million for it?
Oh.
Okay, just checking. You know,
He wanted it for a
just
long
curious.
time, he still wants it.
Well, we got it, we eventually got it, so, yeah. That's all part of the Burns Hill parcel now, that whole section. I was up there the other day, I hadn't walked it in a long time. Beautiful piece.
Yeah.
A lot of deer.
Thank you.
Okay, so, next we have certificate of compliances.
So the first one for the first two at 35 Old Lowell Road was for the construction of a dirt driveway, and then the second order of conditions was issued for trees that were felled into the wetland related to the driveway installation. And they're both from the late 80s. I think my best hypothesis is that the commission, there was a third order of conditions in the 500s from the early 90s when they actually paved the driveway. And that did receive a certificate of compliance, but as these prior two were never closed out, the homeowner is selling, and these came up during a title search. So I did a site visit. Everything looks stabilized again. They're from the late 80s. There were going on 30 years of nothing really outstanding was there.
Okay.
And I recommend they
Be approved. Okay, motion to approve certificate of compliance for 3340292 and 3340336.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
22 April Lane actually requested a partial certificate of compliance back last fall, I think. It was due to a lot line adjustment for 24 April Lane. It was very interesting. But the original subject property that was developed again late 90s, mid 90s-ish, is again being sold, and we received as-builts from Land Tech detailing the extent of the dwelling construction and the roadway that goes right along the wetland resource area, and recommend the commission issue this certificate of compliance.
Okay, motion to approve certificate 3340687.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bentley Building Corp.,
That
75.
one's going to be coming back before that one isn't ready yet.
Okay, thank you. Minutes from, yeah, just send them along, yeah. Minutes from July 28th meeting?
No problem.
No problem at all? Well, it's
Except
unbelievable.
that I asked a
What?
question.
You asked a question?
Well, I noticed in the minutes it was talking about Matt was working on the enforcement order for 92
Still
Nutting
working.
Road.
Still working on the enforcement
working on the
order.
order.
Still working on it.
So,
It has not been forgotten.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes from July 28th?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And August 11th, minutes from August 11th.
But I wasn't there.
Oh, I had no comment.
Nothing? Jim, nothing? No. Jeez, you guys. You're either losing your touch, or they're just getting so
We have a
good.
great
Been very
minute
good.
person.
They have been very,
Okay.
very good.
Okay, motion to approve the meeting minutes from August 11th.
Hey, someone
So
else
moved.
wasn't there.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm
All
abstaining.
right, let's get these sent around.
Thanks. One. Okay, we got a couple of.
So the only thing, we did have a site visit to 22 Griffin Road. Would anybody like to report on that? That was there?
It was raining.
It was raining.
Wasn't pleasant.
It wasn't pleasant.
What was the outcome?
It's pretty much all open, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally taking down a couple of trees. And, you know, there's some drainage issues there with the detention basin and stuff that we gotta look at. And we, you know, we told them about that, and they are looking at revamping. But otherwise,
So
you
this is a
know,
one-time thing, or are they looking to do this more, you know?
It was a joint planning board, conservation commission,
Yeah.
whoever's wanted to come in and get a walk of the property.
Okay.
But it didn't seem like there were any real.
No huge issues
Critical
there.
aspects. All the
Right.
wetlands are at the tree line or beyond.
yeah,
Great.
Yeah, and the wetlands looked good. I walked a good substantial portion.
They've done the test pits for the septics, and they have roughly the idea where the houses were. You could see where they were pegged out, and that was it. Looks like the very
Usually
back end
close
of
to
the,
the deep holes.
yeah, the back end of the property, it narrows down to a little trail, I guess, and there's nothing planned for back there.
good. Okay, have I covered everything? I've covered everything. Mark's here. All right, let's move on to our 9 o'clock, since Mark's here, which is a continuation of a public hearing for Gibbons, 53 Elm Road. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening. Mark Slager from Allen Engineering here on behalf of the Gibbons family, at 53 Elm Road. Also with me is Dan Doherty. He's going to be the builder on the project. When we were here the first time, we were asked to do some things with the house and the site to get the house 30 feet from the lake and the wetland. We have done that. We've also been back to the Zoning Board of Appeals last week, and they were strongly encouraging us to downsize the house, even though we meet all of the commission's requirements that they expressed to us at the last meeting. Subsequent to that meeting, they have agreed to downsize the house even further. It will fit basically within this footprint, or even smaller than that. The new house size will be 30 by 36. That plan revision hasn't come through yet because we just got the new house plans a couple days ago and we missed the deadline. But that being said, there really isn't going to be a significant change to the plan, other than there'll be less roof area and a little bit less work within the floodplain. One of the other things we've done is shown a drip edge around the perimeter of the house. And let me explain a little bit more. There's a significant amount of peat and undesirable stuff like stumps and whatnot throughout the majority of the property. All of that material, which is approximately 5 to 6 feet deep actually, will have to be removed and replaced with crushed stone to support the new house. So all that fill below the cellar slab will be crushed stone. So with the drip edge, everything that's going down off the roof will go into the drip edge and just go underneath the cellar slab and into the crushed stone envelope beneath it. So there's more than enough storage to take care of that. We've also reconfigured the septic system. Again, it's a geomat system, but we reconfigured that, which allowed us to bring the house further away from the lake. We are 31.4 on this plan from the lake and about 30 feet from the wetland. So we've done pretty much everything the commission suggested that we do. At the next meeting, we will have a plan showing the final footprint. I've also added the impervious table at the top that's requested existing versus proposed. That will also change. So what I would like to request for the commission is that we continue the hearing till the next meeting, and then be prepared to issue an order of conditions on the new house footprint, if that's amenable.
Margaret?
Yeah, Matt, can you slide it up a little bit? No, yeah. So I was looking at the 6-inch earthen berm and the way it kind of goes across along, I guess that's the front of the lake edge.
Yeah.
And my thought was that the earthen berm with vegetation, I could see that backing up the water. I'm almost thinking, did you consider doing something like some crushed stone for infiltration and extending the proposed vegetated border across so that you've kind of got a more naturalized edge as opposed to this berm that somebody might decide to dig through or whatever? Or that might potentially back up water into the lawn when there's a heavy rain event?
We didn't really think of that. We were just trying to propose something that's very subtle that was going to prevent any of the yard runoff from going onto the neighbor's property and direct sheet flow into the lake. We're not expecting a lot of runoff since all the roof runoff is going into the ground anyway.
Okay.
So this is just the yard runoff itself.
Yeah, and it just, I guess what I'm thinking is, I'm fine with it along the edge of the property line.
Mm-hmm.
But my thought is, because it's not, I like the way that there's proposed vegetation, and I'm just kind of looking at this and saying, is that really going to be,
Maintained like that, or?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking that if you could do something where you've got the vegetation going across instead of this little 6-inch berm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could do
It's going to have a
something like
longer
that.
life. It's going to actually be something that's going to be maintained
Yeah.
and stay there.
Rather than that dirt berm there.
Yeah, we can modify that, and
Yeah.
we'll show that on the revised plan for the next time. But yeah, we could get rid of that berm. There is, at the end of the little retaining wall there at the south end,
Yeah.
there's a little opening for access down into the lake.
Yeah.
So we just want to maintain that too. There's no real anything there. There's just maybe one step at the end of the wall.
It just is a berm like that. I mean, not saying anything about the current owners, but to me, that's the kind of thing that doesn't seem very permanent, is that the vegetated border, I think, longer term would probably
Have a better chance of
have a better
actually
chance of being kept in place.
Yeah, we can come up with something a little bit
Yeah.
more definitive. Than,
Okay, but yeah, and I understand them wanting to have access to the lake, and that's fine. It just, that berm was just, I've seen too much stuff that's been built.
Sure.
And then removed or breached.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't see any other
A lot
issues.
better than what we saw the last time.
And you can actually take that roof drainage and run it underneath of the slab if it's on crushed stone.
Yeah, because the slab it's basically a slab on grade for the house.
Yeah.
With all the steps going up to the first floor, and the garage is on that level. But all of that stone, all of that material has to come out, so it's going to be a big crushed stone area.
And you're just gonna dig it out, ship it, it's not gonna sit on site anywhere. There's nowhere on site to sit it.
It's just going to be trucked off
Yeah.
from the site into the truck and then away someplace.
Find it a new home.
Yeah.
We'll probably just make that a condition that whatever you dig out just goes and doesn't stay on site.
Yeah.
That's easy enough.
But it has to, there's no room.
I get, no kidding.
Barely enough.
Well, you're an
room for the
expert
truck.
working on these like.
I've had my challenges, let's
have
put it
indeed.
that way.
You know you love it, Dan.
Yeah.
Apparently I do. I'm
Yeah.
a sucker for this.
Well, they must be doing it
I think
right.
you're across
do.
the table, as long as I've been sitting on the board.
You know, I most of my work is like we call it like a 7-iron away from. I haven't left NAB in like 10 years now.
Okay, commission members all set with this?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Any questions from the audience on this application? Okay, seeing none. I'm sorry, yeah, come on up. Come on up and identify yourself.
My name is Bernie McNeil. My mother's Barbara Hanson. She's the neighbor at 51. And we are concerned about the runoff of the water and the water coming in. They're going to be building the house, raising the grade of the house, so it's going to be up higher. My mother's house, the driveway is right along the lot line there. All the water comes down the hill. If you people have been down there, you know there's a big hill there. We're concerned about the water. We're also concerned about their measurements. some of those arrow lines go into the lake. They go beyond the retaining wall. The water's up to the retaining wall. I don't understand why their measurements are going into the lake, but so I just want you people to be aware of some of these things before you make your decisions.
Well, he's got 30 feet to the retaining wall, so I mean, that's our minimum setback. So that meets that. I mean, the roof drainage is all going to go into that infiltration trench. That's not the retaining wall. The retaining wall is back, sir. Sorry to disagree with
Why
you.
don't you give him the pointer?
Yeah.
And push the yellow
Yeah.
button.
I see
the laser
30, I
pointer
see
so you
30
can-
feet from the house to the retaining wall.
It'll help us.
Orange in the middle. Don't point at your eyes.
See right here? That's the middle of the lagoon. The retaining wall is this funny shaped thing here.
Yeah, no, we got
I'm
that.
looking up the top up there.
The closest point.
Where it says 30 and then 31.4.
Yeah.
That's the retaining wall.
That's a cantilever deck.
Right, and that's part of the structure, so that's...
No, it's not.
No, the
because it's
cantilever's
cantilevered.
not.
So it's
So
not.
it's off the side of the house. It's not the foundation itself. It's 30 feet from the foundation.
Okay, that was what our question was.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
But tell me more about the,
We don't know about the drainage.
So you're saying that the drainage is, it's being raised up so it's gonna come down on?
Or does it come down today?
I'm not, it comes down now, and the house is gonna be raised up, and there's quite a bit of roof surface there. We haven't seen the new plans yet, so
Yeah.
we,
Well, the roof surface should be all right with that 2-foot wide thing they have there, trench they have. But I'm not sure. You're saying the water comes down the road and goes down her driveway?
yes,
I see the pointer?
far left-hand corner
Yeah,
is where
yeah.
the hill is.
What's that here, guys?
So right now, the water comes down the road here. This is a huge hill, steep hill. The beach is over in here.
Yep.
Some of the water runs past Lower Road, which is over here, and it comes down, goes into the driveway, goes into this yard. So this is all pretty much the same elevation, and it's extremely low. So that's why I proposed a small berm to redirect any water or prevent any runoff from this lot from going into this area here, to basically contain this lot from contributing runoff into this area here. So we're pretty much isolating.
To address it.
So-
Yeah.
Okay.
So if,
Yeah, exactly.
So also, if water comes down the road and comes onto 53, what you're saying is what you've built here will keep that water that comes onto 53 from then flowing back onto 51.
Yeah, whatever comes past this driveway will actually continue past. There's some, it's extremely flat here, but there is a very gradual slope, and it'll go past the driveway and down into this area and then into the lake. So this is being built up, so that it won't be able to get this way, but it'll continue down the road and then come down around the other side of the house.
You might want to point across the street. Across the street from this lot too, there's like a vacant lot that the Burns' own. It's just like a stoned
Yeah, that's
driveway.
all crushed
That's the
stone.
lowest point. Most of the water, if any huge rain event, goes to that property. I think, I'm sure, well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Burns' property right next up. So that's essentially what it is. But there's nothing from 53 that's going to go into 51.
So from what they're telling me, you shouldn't have the issue that you were fearing that you might have.
But now, does rain falling on 53 flow onto 51 today?
No, but can you see
No.
the size of 53?
No, but, so is there flow from 53 to 51 today?
There is some water that goes down the driveway now, but that's what I'm saying is that this whole structure is gonna be raised up. So now,
Okay. But now, Mark, what you were saying was with all the crushed stone that's replacing the peat and stuff that's under the existing house, now, when water flows off the roof, it's going to have an easier time going into the ground under the house than it does today.
Correct. Right. And with a little landscaping and berming along the property line, none of the runoff from this lot will get onto 51 to the south. It'll be directed directly to the lake.
and the other thing is there's 4 trees on that lot right now, and the new plan doesn't show any of the new trees being replanted?
There is one tree back in here that's gonna remain, and then there's a couple of smaller trees down in here that would probably be removed. I'm not sure whether they're actually in the street right away or whether they're on the lot, but some of them will have to be removed. And there's another tree on the lot line, I believe it's on the property of 55 or right on the lot line. We don't have any plans to take that one down. But other than that, there's, you know, no trees in this area. And the backyard is all open except for that one tree. There are some more trees over in here, but we don't plan on touching any of those.
Okay.
But those trees are up on that property on the front corner, that's all I'm saying.
There's 2 trees there?
Yeah, right in the front corner, that's
Right in here.
yeah.
And those are the ones I think he's saying he was gonna be removing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody plans to replace those 2 trees?
We don't have any plans to, but
It's outside of the 50.
It is outside of the. You're right.
He's outside of the 50, so
Okay.
he's good.
Okay.
Okay, so let's continue this to our next meeting, which is October 13th at 7:30.
Second.
Second, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we're doing continuations a little different. They're all at 7:30. And the process is, new filings go first, and then we do the continuations.
okay.
He'll actually assign a time to it on the final agenda.
Yeah, on the final agenda, so we'll make sure that you
Okay.
get the agenda, you can see where things are. We'll try to group yours together,
Yeah.
save you
All
from
right.
sitting
Thanks,
around.
guys.
Very good.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Oh, you're right here for 60? Need time?
Okay, we're moving on to our 9:10 PM, which is a continuing publication of Pileski, 60 Elm Road.
Hello again, Mark Slager from Allen Engineering, for the record. Dan Doherty is with me. Gary Pilevsky is the applicant, but he is unavailable. Dan will be the builder. Him. Again, we've made some changes to the plan to address the commission's concerns from the last meeting. There really weren't many changes, and the commission really didn't have too many issues with the design. I'll wait for Matt to pull up the plan. So I've added the summary table of the impervious area. We've removed one of the decks off of the back, squeezed the house down a little bit, shifted the garage forward a little bit. I've also changed the septic system from a Presby system to a geomat system. It's a lower profile system and actually takes up less area than the Presby system, which allowed me to pull it further away from the lake. The impervious area is only slightly larger than what's there now. We did go to the ZBA the other night, and they were very, very adamant that the house needs to be reduced in size, so we're working with the architect and the owner to make the necessary changes to reduce the footprint. But what I've done in this plan is shown you the dimensions to the actual foundation of the house, existing and proposed, and they're about the same, within a couple of inches. The proposed screen porch is actually further away than the deck. And the deck on the back is further away from than what's existing. So with that, we've addressed all the commission's concerns. Actually, we also extended the crushed stone driveway to the full length of the house, or the full depth of the house. That's just going to be a crushed stone area. It's going to help collect roof runoff and infiltrate it into the ground. The soil in this area is all sand and gravel, less than a 2-minute per inch perk rate, so there'll be no problem with roof runoff going into that area. And we're also proposing some crushed stone beneath all of both decks and the screen porch that will be constructed on sonotubes, and we'll be directing roof runoff into those areas as well, rather than having them sheet flow across the yard into the lake. Again, we've got a do some redesigning, but we're gonna stick to the same setbacks that we're showing on this plan. Septic system, I don't expect to change, but the house footprint is gonna be smaller than what's shown here.
So with the trees within the 50-foot buffer zone that are being removed, what are the plans to replace them?
I believe there's one here. I think we might be able to save that one, but there's one tree here that I can see that's gonna have to come out, and there's a couple here, but I believe those are outside the 50. This one may be just on the edge, because it's 44 feet to the septic, so it's right on the edge.
So
Yeah, we'll replace the tree at whatever the commission wants us to do.
They can find a spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
But other than that, it seems like he's addressed the,
The spots are getting smaller.
Addressed all our concerns, yeah.
and then it's up to the planning board, let them do their thing, and then whatever little tweaks or modifications that we need to do. So you're not looking for us to, in our next
Yeah.
meeting, to be able to issue, because we still need to be able to.
Yes,
You're gonna have, you got ZBA, right?
Able to,
We still have to go to ZBA.
ZBA,
I
okay.
believe they're on the 16th,
Okay.
somewhere around
So
there.
our next meeting's on the 13th, so you don't want us to issue.
You actually want us to see us
Should
on the
be after that.
27th.
Yeah,
Yeah, on this one, I think we should go to the 27th.
okay.
Okay.
That'll give us more time, because there's a lot more tweaking we need to do to the house plans.
Motion to
Anything
that
from the
effect.
commission? Any questions from the audience on this application? Okay, seeing none, can we move, continue this to October 27th at 7:30?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, thank you
Thanks,
very much.
guys.
Thank you.
Close enough, right? All right, we're going to go to a 9:20 PM, which is a continuation of a public hearing for Stokes, 25 Waterview Drive.
So Mr. Stokes was unable to attend. He is, I think, currently somewhere flying. But I was able to meet with him and pull tape off the existing unit to the pine trees that are prevalent on the property there. Also scratched off the
Fire pit?
yeah, the fire pit. So it's the nearest pine tree is actually 8 feet to this corner, and there's a second pine tree that's about 10 feet from the house. We did receive an email from Robert Nolet of A1 Tree and Landscape, who will be doing the work. And his goal is to, instead of digging down to set the patio pavers, is to add some, is to build up the land to over the existing roots, which I thought was a positive to the, and I broached the question about if a retaining, if there would be some distant, if there would some form of, not retaining wall, but retaining blocks at the end, if he has to build it up. And his goal right now is to maintain the existing slope. But if needed, he wanted the ability
And
to.
I've seen concrete rings put around a tree so that when you build the soil up around them, the tree stays at grade.
Right, yeah. So I think he seemed to have an understanding of what he's looking to do out there to get the patio to be installed.
Mhm.
You guys good with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the RDA?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this is a
Additional negative, isn't it?
Additional negative, yep.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
Does it need to be closed?
Yeah. Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Early. Go.
What?
We're a little early. If there's anybody here.
It's 9:30 somewhere.
Okay, we'll move on to our 9:30 then, which is the Westford Housing Authority, 7 Church Street.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021 at 9:30 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the request for determination of applicability application of the Westford Housing Authority for the replacement of the existing failing septic system in a new with a new septic tank, pump chamber, and pressure dosing leaching field, where the existing and proposed leaching fields and some components are within 200 feet of a perennial stream at 7 Church Street.
Welcome. Welcome. Good evening. My name is Mike Carter from GCG Associates. We are the engineer for the project and also representing the Westford Housing Authority. What we're here before you tonight is basically the site is located on 7 Cross Street, and it's a elderly housing site and a three family housing units, or buildings, I should say. And we are within the riverfront area for the Graniteville Pond, and also the 100-foot buffer for the, it's known as Beltwell Brook. Basically, Graniteville Pond is not on the site, but if you were in the bottom, where the title block is, in the bottom right corner, if you look here, where's the, is there? Bottom right corner, and then just the yellow button.
There you go.
Okay, yep, okay. So basically, this is on Church Street, and up on the top of the screen, you can't quite see it, is Cross Street, right here. This site right here, this is the existing building, this is the elderly portion, and then right here, there's 3 individual units, which is family. The resource areas are located, there's a set of railroad tracks right here, and then on the other side of the railroad tracks, there is Beltwell Brook, which flows down this way, then comes underneath the tracks and goes to Graniteville Pond, which would be down here. The 100 front riverfront riparian zone is right here as I'm drawing. That's the 100. The 200 is right along here, and then it goes over to here. So our work is basically the existing septic system has failed. It was originally constructed in 1987, and when they did it, they actually built 2 fields. They built the first field and then a reserve field. And at that time, in 1994, I believe it's 94, 97, they had to abandon the original field and switch over to the reserve field. The fields are located, basically there's a park, this is all paved parking right in here. There's two old fields. You see these trench lines right here. This is the abandoned field right now that's failed. And then the existing field is right in this location right here. So what we're proposing to do is remove both fields, put in a new septic system. This system, and this system services this building and these 3 family housing. So it's a pretty good sized system. It's not a small residential system. So it has to be what's called a pressure dosing system. So the field would be if you could go to the next screen right here. The field is, all these little lines right here represents the field. So you can see our 200-foot runs basically like right around there, and our 100-foot is over in here. So we're inside, this work is in between the 100-foot and 200-foot area of the riverfront area for Beltwell Brook, and then for over here, eventually gets to Granville Pond. So we're proposing just to put it back in approximately the same location. We repave the driveway. We're not changing any grading or anything. With respect to runoff during construction, basically, if you go on the other side of these residential homes, there's a large mound, so there's no way runoff would even get past these buildings. Actually, there's a catch basin located right here, which is basically a leaching basin, and then there's another catch basin on the town street right there, thank you, which connects to a drain line that goes off this way and into the water. So really, this is the low point on the site. So during construction, there would be really no chance of any runoff down to behind these buildings because it goes up gradient. And then on the back side here, where Beltwell Brook is actually right over here on the other side of the tracks. The tracks are about 5 feet above the site, so it's not feasibly possible that you would have any potential siltation, erosion reaching the resource areas. That's kind of the overview of the project. It's there's really, and you may ask the question, where can we put this on this site? There's really no other area. This is the only area. In this area right here, someone might say, why don't you put it in this courtyard? This is a gazebo. There's leaching pits here for drainage. And this is kind of, best way to describe it is shoehorned in here. And it needs to be replaced. It's failed at this point.
Board of Health approved it?
They're waiting for us to get our approval from you, basically. They said, why don't you get...
I don't know where else they put it.
There's no other place to put it.
I'm thinking like maximum feasible compliant. It was already there, so,
The word
yeah.
shoehorn is appropriate.
Okay, any comments from the audience on this application? Okay, seeing none, can I have a conditional negative?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would you like me to send
getting late.
determination of applicability to you?
Truth of it.
I get it.
All right.
I get it.
Do you? Yeah, me too.
Some paperwork, yeah, I wrote this.
You got nothing else. This is it. Might as well do it, right? A little early.
Well, just think of the people who are watching this
Never
on
initiated.
cable. They don't want to sit here for 10 minutes
Go to
watching
bed
this.
early, do nothing. Okay, we'll move on to a 9:35, which is a public hearing for DHD Adams Realty Trust, 38 Rear, Providence Road. Gotta read it.
Thing to read. Legal notice.
Forgot.
It's getting late.
Exactly.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, at 9:35 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, on the notice of intent application of Ray Adams for the construction of a new single-family dwelling, installation of a private water supply well, and associated site grading within 100 feet of a jurisdictional wetland at 38R Lot 2, Providence Road.
Okay. Good evening, Mark Slager from Allen Engineering, here on behalf of Roy Adams. You may recall the Adams property was purchased a few years ago.
Yep.
There were 2 remaining lots with frontage on Providence Road. They're both hammerhead lots, and they will be served by a common driveway. This past Monday, the planning board approved a special permit for the common driveway. None of the work associated with the driveway itself is within the buffer zone, but this particular house and water supply well will require some work in the buffer zone. The house is just barely in the buffer zone by about 4 or 5 feet, and the limit of work is probably about 65 feet from the edge of the wetland at its closest point. It's just a regular 4-bedroom home with a walkout basement, a water supply well off to the northeast, and the septic system along the southwesterly border. Again, a geomat system, low profile system, not much mounding associated with it. The limit of work is shown on the plan. Will be staked with silt fence and Filtrex silt socks, and that's about it.
You bring in bringing in fill?
No. No.
So it looked like there was some regrading there.
There is some regrading, but we think that's probably just gonna be from where the foundation was dug out.
Would this
And
be a
they
good candidate for some kind of marker posts?
Yeah, I was thinking, I was thinking at least the, where the 75 is, at least at the edge of the clearing, just so they know this is where the 75 is.
Well, the 75 is for the house. The clearing is actually at the 50.
Right, I mean, but it just establishing something, I mean, well then, would it be
Yeah,
better
they
to
don't
have the
wanna
100?
cut any trees.
Well, right, I mean, have posts installed at the at where the 100 is at the edge of the clearing. So there is some, understanding that, hey, here is the 100 and going forward, but.
Yep. Okay. This land is still under the DHD Adams Realty Trust.
Yep.
So we could put a notation in the deed when they convey it to their nephew regarding the standard language that's always in the deeds, just so that people can't say they didn't know about the wetland areas.
Right.
But it also helps to have something in the field that tells them.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I can't see anything else that,
Yeah, and I can
Straightforward.
meet with Matt and pencil out where we're gonna put the
yeah,
posts.
the markers.
Yeah.
But other than that,
They're
yeah.
thinking of expanding their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And the well's where it is because of the septic on lot 3.
Right, the septic on lot 3 and also the septic on lot 2, and it also has to be 50 feet from the lot line. Being a hammerhead lot, the house also has to be 50 feet from all lot lines as well. Why we had to put it where it is, not closer to the lot
There's an
line.
existing well up here in the northwest corner.
Yeah, there's an existing well. That well services house number 38.
Oh, it's not on their property, though?
No. And under the common driveway, on the plan that gets recorded showing the easement, we actually are adding an easement for that well
Okay.
as well.
Okay. Got nothing else.
You good? You all good with this?
Yep. So we're gonna continue this?
Yeah, we can write the order of conditions at the next meeting.
Okay.
So, motion to continue this to October,
Comments from the public?
oh, yeah. Any comments from, no?
Questions?
Any questions?
I just live across the street.
Okay, but you're all set with this? You good with it?
Well, anytime they infringe on the wetlands, it's definitely a concern of mine.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's okay, though. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like they're infringing here.
Yeah, they're pretty far away. Okay, thank you.
Continue to when?
Motion to continue this to our October 13th meeting at 7:30.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark.
Hey, you guys, anything else on the table? We're good?
Good.
I'll let you know when I have extra eggs and I'll put them on my stick.
Okay, motion to
Actually, I wanted
adjourn.
to get your phone
So
number.
moved.
Oh,
Second.
All in
I-
favor?
Aye.
yeah,
Aye.